Hello and welcome to my session to the month of Copilot in 2024. I will speak about how AI changed my business life. So I will bring you a lot of wow effects that I had in my Copilot time since October. I can use Copilot for Microsoft 365 and Copilot for Web since October, and I will show you my real life wow effects that really changed the way I work, the way I communicate, and the way I live. Please subscribe to the channels of the Copilot Connection, so copilotconnection.com, and to the LinkedIn and YouTube webpage of Copilot. Here you will find always the newest information of this connections. Some words to me. Yeah, you see, I'm in the IT since more than 30 years, so I'm one of the older guys. Most of the time I worked for the best gold certified partners in Austria. I also worked 9 years for Microsoft. So this was the chance for me to learn how this company works, thinks, and understand business and the way people work together. I'm at ACP. ACP is one of the best Microsoft partners in Austria. Since 27, I work as a cloud architect, and I always was concerned with the added value that IT brings to people. So IT for IT itself never was an interest for me. I always tried that IT must bring a value to people and their work. I have a blog, derdecker.at, but unfortunately most of the content is in German, so you have to translate it if you don't understand German. And I'm very proud that I'm the first and at the moment only security MVP in Austria. What do I do as a cloud architect? I support companies on their way to Microsoft 365 in the areas of governance, security, data protection, and for user adoption. User adoption not only for Microsoft 365, but user adoption also for Copilot for Microsoft 365. And I developed the standards how to implement Microsoft 365 inside of our company. We're a group of cloud consultants of Austria and Germany, and we have standards how to implement Microsoft 365 for our customers. And in my spare time, I am the CEO, so the Chief Entertainment Officer of the VIP area at the Red Bull Erzberger Rodeo. If you don't know this event, it's one of the hardest one-day enduro events in the world. So there start about 500 starters, and most of the time 10 of them make it to the finish line. So it's really a hard race. For me, it's a week full of dust and motorbikes and no computer, completely another job, but I like it very much. So what is this session about? I will not explain what Copilot is, so Copilot for Microsoft 365 or Copilot for Web. I assume that you know both, and I will not explain what it is and how it works. And it's also no prompt, no training how to do the best prompt. I show you real wow effects with working with Copilot, real life experiences, and I will always explain the little story around each experience. So let's start with the first wow effect. That was really my first Copilot wow effect, and this was the experience where I see why Copilot is better than Google for Web. I was on my way to Innsbruck. Innsbruck is a city in Tyrol, in Austria. It's a really nice city. So you're in the middle of the mountains, and if you're in the middle of the city, you see the Nordkette directly near the city, and there is a train to this mountain. That's the Nordkettenbahn. And you see the entry of this train, the start station of this train is really in walking distance from the middle of the city. So in winter, you see people with snowboards walking through the city, and they enter here to the Nordkettenbahn and drive up to the mountain of the Nordkettenbahn. I was in Innsbruck, I can't number it, 20, 30, 50 times in the last 20, 30 years, but I never went with the Nordkettenbahn to the top of the mountain. And on my way to Innsbruck, I was thinking about, hey, Christian, you can go to the top of the mountain if you have some spare time. And I opened Google, as I always do, and I asked Google, hey, Google, how long does the journey to the Nordkette take and how much does it cost? And this is the normal Google answer we are used to since 20 years. So Google gave me a lot of websites where I can find the answers to my question. And before I clicked to the first link, I thought, hey, Christian, you have Copilot. And let's ask Copilot for the web the same question. So I opened Copilot and I go for Copilot for the web. So every one of you with Microsoft 365 license has Copilot for the web. And I asked him the same question I asked Google. Most of the time I go here to precise and not too creative because I don't like the hallucinations of ChatGPT. And if I ask the same question, the first thing I mentioned is it takes much longer for an answer. Google is very, very fast. But the difference between Google and Copilot for me is that Copilot gave me the same answer a colleague or a friend will give me if I ask him about this journey. So you see the journey from the city center of Innsbruck takes just under half an hour. So it's okay. You need an hour for going up and going down. And the cost is about 50 euros or so the costs are always also okay. So the next time when I'm in Innsbruck and I have about 2 or 3 hours time, I will definitely go to the Nordkette. So this is the first wow effect I had with Copilot. And that's the reason why I do not really search anymore with Google. Most of the time I ask Copilot for my answers. The second wow effect was the learning that you can ask Copilot everything you ask a colleague, but sometimes you have to ask better questions and clarify in the same way if you ask a colleague. And this was a real life experience also. I stand at the coffee machine in the office waiting for my coffee, and my colleague Erika stands beside me. And while we're waiting for the coffee, we talked a little bit. And Erika works in accounting, and she said, "Hey, Christian, do you have an idea? I'm responsible for the Tesla cars in our company, and Tesla sends me every month a zip file with a lot of directories for every car we have. There is a directory, and in the directory there is a PDF file with the invoice for the charging for this month. And it always took me about an hour to get out all of these PDF files and put them into one directory. Is there a way to do it better? And I looked at her and said, Erika, don't ask me, ask Copilot. So we finished our coffee. I go with her to her computer and I showed her how to do it. So we opened Copilot on her computer and we exactly put the same question she asked me to Copilot. And that was the answer that Copilot gives us. The funny part is the answers are every time a little bit different, but most of the time Copilot gives an answer like this. Sometimes you get a Python script, other easy parts. And for me, as an IT guy, the answer was completely okay. But she looked at the answer and she looked at me and says, "Hey, Christian, that's nice, but it's much too complicated. Can I do this without a command line?" And I again said, "Don't ask me, ask Copilot." And we said, okay, that's too complicated. Can I do it without a command line? So the same question she asked to me. And then Copilot came up with the solutions I had in my mind. So this is the way I would do it. I open the File Explorer and go to the parent directory and put PDF in the search field. And then I have all of the PDFs, can select all and move or copy them to the final destination. And you see, the way you speak with Copilot is really the same as you do with your colleagues. I always see that I say thank you and please, and the same words I use with people. I read that it's Copilot gives better answers if you don't use please and these words, but for me it's quite normal. So this was Copilot for Web, and Copilot for Web does not know your company. And sometimes you need answers to business questions. And it was the same for me. I was on a business trip before. I met Erika at the coffee machine. And so it was the opportunity for me, after I did her a favor, or Copilot did it, to ask her, Erika, you're also responsible for the travel expenses. How do I book a flight into the travel expenses? Because this is always a little bit complicated, and so I thought, okay, she will explain it to me, and not to my really surprise, Erika looked at me and says, "Don't ask me, ask Copilot." So I said, okay, fair enough. And we switched to Copilot, and this time we switched to Copilot to Work. And I have to ask this question in German because in the real life we did it in German, and I saw preparing this demonstration that this is something that does not work really in English. So the question is the same you wrote on the slide before. You do not understand the answer, but this is very easy because after Copilot gave me the answer, I can ask him to provide the answer in English, and this is the same answer than Erika would have given me. So I see I see the way I have to input this in my travel expenses. I see the the types of the booking, and I see the name of our travel management to if I have any other questions. So this is really a good way to get answers from our company, and this information is in our intranet. There's a documentation, and there you find also this information. The next wow effect is the only wow effect I cannot show you in real life. I always try to do all my Copilot demos in real life, but this is something where I have had a lot of personal information of a customer. So this wow effect is only in PowerPoint. You know the situation, you are on a training, you're in a meeting, in a 2-hour meeting, you come back to your computer, and you see you have 21 new emails, and you see that there was a mail discussion about some topics between 6 different people. And normally you had to read through all the emails to understand what was the discussion about, and so on. By the way, this is a good example that email is not the right way to make some discussions. But it does not really matter if this is an email or this is in Teams chat or in the team conversation. The problem is I have 21 messages where I have to go through. And after I had Copilot, I found the Summary by Copilot button in the top of the first mail. And so I tried it out, and this was the first time, it was really the first time I tried this Summary by Copilot. And Copilot gave me this German answer. I translated it here to English, and you see that I saw that I really have a good summary by Copilot. There was a discussion in the first 6 or 7 mails, and they made a decision after the discussion, and you find only the decision in the summary and not the discussion about the decision. So Copilot really understood the discussion, understood the decision in the end, and give me a really good summary for this email. So this is one of the use cases I really use a lot to summarize long discussions. In the first 3 months, I always checked Copilot, so I always go through the discussion. But in the moment, for me, I know that Copilot does this very well. The next use case was Excel. So I know Excel quite well, and I do a lot of tenant checks, security checks for our customers, where we check different settings in the tenant. And one of the settings we check is we go to the admin portal, and we go to roles, and I download a list of all people that have administrative roles in the tenant, just to see how many people are global admin and so on. And in this case, the customer said, "Oh, it was a worldwide company." They said, "Oh, I had to ask if I can give you this information." And they sent me afterwards an Excel file where they deleted the usernames, and they said, "Okay, I sent you the number of the global administrators, and I get this." And I said, "Okay, cool." Normally, I would do a pivot table to get the number of the roles, but I thought, let's Copilot do this, because not everyone can do pivot. And my problem with pivot is I can create a pivot table, but I always have to think about how I can sort the pivot table. And so I thought, okay, I have Copilot, and Copilot is my assistant. So I go to Copilot and I said, Copilot, I want the number of different rows in this list. And Copilot said, oh, I understand your data. Let's just look. And it's working. And then he said 28. And I looked at the result and say, that was not my question. And that I realized, that was exactly my question. And this is a good example, and that's the reason why I let you take part on this experience, because this was my question, but this was not really the part I was looking for. And that was the point where I learned I have to ask precise questions to Copilot. So I said, okay, I need the number of individual role names. How many of each role names are there? And please sort them by frequency in decent order. So this is the exact result I was expecting, and Copilot was analyzing the data, and then he gave it here, and that was exactly what I needed. But then I thought, no, I need this information in a new spreadsheet. So I said, okay, the Copilot, nice, but I added, put it in a new spreadsheet. And I was expecting that Copilot will give it to me in a new spreadsheet, like a pivot table. But Copilot told me, oh, I'm sorry, I'm unable to create a new spreadsheet. And this was the moment where I was sit here and said, really, Pivot can do this, and you cannot do this. And it took me about half an hour until I realized that in this answer, here is a button, add to a new sheet. Don't ask me why Copilot cannot create a new sheet, but I didn't read the output, so it was in reality my fault and not the fault of Copilot. So with this button, I had the answer in the new sheet. I had the number. I see that I have 19 global administrator. I put this in my report, and everything was fine. So let's switch to the next. This is a personal experience. This is experience I built. I bought a photovoltaic for my house. So this is my house, and this is the new photovoltaic. And in Austria, you get fundings if you install a photovoltaic. And to apply for the grant, you need to fill out a form. But the company that installed the photovoltaic told me that they will fill out all the forms, and I should send them all the information, and they will do the rest. So I thought, hey, that's great. Let's do this. And they sent me this link and told me we need this information. So I open up the browser, and I saw that there are a lot of fields to fill out. And the normal way I would do this is to open up an email or an Excel sheet and fill out the title and the name and the given name and the surname and the date of birth and so, and fill out the information. And then I thought, hey, I have Copilot. Copilot will not fill out the information, but the idea was, Copilot, can you put all these fields in an Excel sheet so I do not have to type all the the name of the fields, but only the results. And I did it, and Copilot says, sure. Here was my learning. You cannot say, put all the fields of this form in a table, because Copilot for web does not know that this is a form. You have to ask all the fields on this page. So it's always the page. And you see that Copilot filled up all these fields and give me here the possibility to open this table directly in Excel. So it took me about 2 minutes to create an Excel with all the fields, and then I put in the information I needed, and I was able to send it to the company that built up the Excel. Yeah, let's wait for this. Yeah, you see I have here all the fields and here the Excel sheet. Just because I did it, if this bar in the team meeting annoys you, press Control W for a way, then this bar in the team meeting will not come. So, one of the use cases I used a lot is to formulate in English. As you hear, English is not my main language. I understand English very well. I hope you understand my English also. But sometimes I have to write emails where it took me about 10 minutes to formulate it in the right way in German. So it's really hard for me to write so sensitive emails in English. So this is a real example. We had a ticket with Microsoft about conditional access. This is something I'm really firm about the conditional access policy and MDM system. And so on. And I was really upset with this information because for me, that was not really an answer to my problem, to my question. That was a cheap, easy answer, and I really got angry about this. And I don't know if you see this. If I get this answer, I do the reply, and sorry, I have to go to the slides. And my first answer, I start writing in German, and I translated this answer with Google Translate, that you understand it. So you see, it was not really a nice answer. So this is something where normally I see in writing the text that I cannot really send this text in this way. And here I tried Copilot, so I put in the German answer, and then I go to Copilot and said, Copilot, is this really a good answer? So the coaching by Copilot, I knew that this was not a good answer, but I was interested in the way Copilot will help me with this. So this was really not a very polite answer. But I had the feeling that the engineer doesn't really understand the problem and didn't think about the problem. And that's very funny because it's in German. Normally it should be in English, but I will translate it. Copilot, well, let's do this and let's go here and let's, can you translate this in English? So don't ask me, ask Copilot. You cannot switch the language in the coaching mode, so we have to translate it. And Copilot told me that the email is very rude and arrogant and could offend the recipient and hinder collaboration. So I recognize this in writing the answer for myself, and I know that it does not really help to answer emails in this way, but sometimes it's necessary to write it down and then delete it because it's better for me. So I said thank you, and I deleted the answer, and then I said I would create an answer from Copilot, and I put the same answer to the draft with Copilot, and I said make it formal and make it long. So here is the answer in German, and here you can change the answer. So I can say, can you formulate this in English? Yeah, here's the result, and you see the answer is much more polite than my answer was, and this is the way that saves me really a lot of time because I can formulate the answer in German, and Copilot helps me to do it in a good business English. So let's come to the next wow effect. I'm a very mobile user, so I work a lot, not only on my PCs, but also on my smartphone. And here Copilot helps me to formulate very good replies on the smartphone. So I got an email from a customer for a kickoff meeting for a user adoption for Microsoft 365. And she asked me if we can start 1 hour later because there were a lot of participants traveling from far away and would be better for them. And on the PC, this would be the answer I had written. So yes, yeah, it's no problem, and thank you, and we can start at 10, and please tell the new time to the participants, and yeah, they will not require a laptop. And but to type this on a smartphone is time-consuming task. So this was the mail from the customer, and you can do the same on the smartphone. So it does not matter if you're using the mobile version of Outlook or the browser version or the new Outlook or the old or classic Outlook. So on the smartphone, I go to draft, and then it's not necessary to write all the stuff. So I type in 10 is okay, and they no laptop, and the standard setting is to do it in a long way and to do it in a formal way. You can configure it here. And you see, this is an answer that Copilot gives me. And this is a very better answer than I normally wrote on a smartphone. And this also helps me to make better answers on my smartphone with Copilot. So the next part is PowerPoint. We had a new colleague in the team, and he came to me and said, I'm the new security consultant in your team. Yes, I'm new. And he asked me if I have a PowerPoint presentation to business decision makers about privileged identity management with Microsoft Entra. And I told him, to be honest, I only have a workshop for implementing privileged identity management, but I do not really have a workshop, a PowerPoint slide deck for business decision makers. So I said, you have to build it, or I can help you building it because I have nothing in my pocket. But I said, ask Copilot, let Copilot do this. And he said, really? And Copilot can do this? And I said, right. So we opened up a empty PowerPoint, and I told him, put the same content in you told me. So explain Copilot, you're a new security consultant, and that you need blah, 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 PowerPoint presentation. In reality, we did it in German, but for this demo, it's okay. And I was very curious about the result, and because normally it would take me about business decision maker 10 slides, about half an hour to build a slide deck, not about the content, but about writing the text and so on. And we use the ACP template. So you see, we have the template here, we have the just here. Oh, that's a video, that's new. Ah, cool. Interesting, okay. And you see that's the reason why you need privileged identity management. This is the overview of privileged identity management, and here some use cases and benefits, and how you get started, and the best practices, and some questions about the best practices. This was something where I helped him to use really our best practices in privileged identity management, because they are a little bit different. But this is a good start for a presentation. It's a really nice presentation, and yeah, we worked a little bit on the content, but for a business decision maker, 50 to 30 minutes presentation, this is really, really a good and fast result of this program. And the last wow effect is about a handout. I do a lot of user trainings, user adoptions, and a lot of sessions for users that never used Microsoft 365. And I explain them what is the reason behind Teams and chat groups and channels and private channels and shared channels, all that stuff. And in the end, I go through all products or services in Microsoft 365, and I explain every service for 1 or 2 minutes. So what is bookings? What is the idea of bookings? What is ClickGen and so on. And after training the customer, the IT guy come to me and said, Christian, that was really a great training. Thank you very much. Can you do a handout about these services? We would do a handout for the users. And I said, yes, sure. And I'm not sure if you like it to write handouts. I don't like it because it's so time consuming, sitting there and thinking about how can I describe the service that the user understand it. And you know, there are a lot of services in Microsoft 365. So, but the customer pays, and so I said, yeah, I will do it. And I said I will do it, but my brain said, oh, let's Copilot do this. And so I opened a Word with our company template. I go to Copilot and I said to Copilot, create a handout for new Office 365 users. This is handout is intended to give users a structured overview of the individual services. Start with a general description and then create a chapter for each of these 10 to 50 lines, and then I gave all the services to Copilot. I had to do it 2 times because Copilot was not able in the beginning to do it in 1 click. And then Copilot did it, but he did it here. And I looked at Copilot and said, hey, to be honest, I don't want it here. I thought you will do it in the document. And this was also learning. The hardest thing in IT is to read the screen. And if you look here Copilot says, press Alt-I to draft with Copilot. I said, it was not the problem of Copilot, but if you press Alt-E and put in the same question and click on generate, and you see we have a handout. We have for every service, what is Office 365 and what are the apps for enterprise, what is OneDrive, what is Teams, what is Planner, To Do, and so on. So I was able to generate the handout in about half an hour. Look through it. It was not really a lot of work to do any corrections, and so I was able to generate I think it goes up to 4 or 5 pages to send it to the customer. And yeah, I told the customer I need 4 hours for this document, but this is okay. I have to pay my Copilot licenses, so this is okay. So I tried this also for generating documents for when do you use a chat group, when do you use a team, a private channel, a shared channel, and so on. And I saw you need a little bit more input. So I'm not afraid that Copilot will take over my job, because if it is more about how can I use this, you need a real expert. But for this basic information of privileged identity management or something like this, it's really a good start to do this. And this brings us to the end of the presentation. some tips from our practice from the adoption for Copilot in companies. The first and most important guide is in your first weeks with Copilot, really use Copilot first. Because if you use Copilot only if you are not sure how to do something, then you will not see the power of Copilot. So, for example, the Excel wow effect, I can do this in Pivot, but and I will be faster writing my answers in English, but the results are better if I do it with Copilot, and I learned a lot of the possibilities of Copilot. So for the first weeks in your Copilot adoption, tell your users, use Copilot for every task where you can get help from Copilot. The second most important point is build up a community. If you work with Copilot for your own, you will be frustrated, and you will get the ideas you have. We saw at customers in our company, if you have a community of colleagues that are all in these first steps with Copilot, Copilot for the web and Copilot for Microsoft 365, and you meet weekly and talk about your experience with Copilots, then you get a lot of ideas what you can do with the platform, and the other people get the ideas from you. So the exchange between the users is very, very important. Train the users, and here we learned, give them a short basic training, about an hour, then let them work with Copilot for about 1 or 2 weeks, and then give them a second, a little bit more deeper training. Because if you do all the tips and tricks and how do you prompt in the right way and all this stuff, and users have never worked with Copilot, they will not understand what you tell them. So let them work, and after 1 or 2 weeks, then do an extended training. And explain them what Copilot can do, but also explain them what Copilot cannot do. There's a lot of frustration because people think Copilot can do anything, but he cannot do anything, and you have to explain them the possibilities of Copilot and what Copilot can not yet do. And create a platform in SharePoint, in lists or something like that, where you can exchange use cases for the same reason as the community. And that are the 5 tips for a good Copilot adoption. I can speak an hour about the Copilot adoption, user adoption in companies, but this is the short form of our experience. So that are the wow effects I showed you today. The wow effect 1 is why Copilot is better than Google. Then I showed you that there's a wow effect if you ask better questions, if you refine your questions, that you can find answers to business questions, the summarized mail thread or Teams discussion. I showed you the help in Excel to generate a pivot-like table. I showed you how I exported a web form to an Excel sheet, how Copilot helped me to formulate mails in a better English, how Copilot helped me to write better, longer emails from my smartphone, and the draft for a presentation in PowerPoint and the handout in Word. And with this, I say thank you. If you want to give me some feedback, this is my personal feedback form. thank you for making my presentations better. And still say thank you and have a nice evening.